Okay, hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Winners Ways podcast. Of course, as you all know already, this is where we talk about success strategy. And today we are blessed to have an expert with us. His name is Eric DUNAVANT. Eric is the owner and CEO of Paradigm. Paradigm is a financial advising company that's focused on helping families live a better story and by being more intentional at the intersection of family and finance. Eric is a certified financial planner, a qualified kingdom advisor, a family planning associate. Eric has helped hundreds of families and businesses discover the simple holistic strategies for saving on taxes, giving back to causes that they care about, and setting up system for multi-generational wealth or multi-generational success. He calls it success. So I'm excited about this conversation because I want to be able to build that multi-generational success that will, transcend beyond me. Eric is an author, speaker, and he's a serial entrepreneur. So he has been in the financial services industry for over 2 decades. Guys, I'm excited to welcome Eric to this show. Hey, Eric, how are you doing?
Well, I am fantastic. I could not be more excited about getting to visit with you today.
Perfect. So I know I just did my intro in the teaser. But as I always do, I want my guest to hear from you. So Can you please go ahead and let us know about you, what you do, and what my audience, what they are going to gain from listening to our conversation today.
Yeah, so my name is Eric DUNAVANT, as you said. I carry around the title, which I love, is the Mindset Disruption Strategist. And so as we'll talk about things today, what I want to do is disrupt the way that people think, because when somebody says a word to you, you automatically think one way. And I want to be the person who causes you to go, well, wait a minute, what did you just say, to disrupt your mindset? And because that then creates different outcomes. So that's my title. That's who I am in a nutshell of the world that I live in. But I'm more defined by we're talking about like redefining success. My life's short. I'll be here but a blip. But so my legacy and my story is I am husband to Angel. Angel and I have been married 25 years. I have 3 incredible children: Clayton, who will be a junior at Purdue; Austin, who will be a freshman at Rhodes College in Memphis; and then my daughter Grayson, who will be a sophomore in high school. My passion is family. As we get to talk about it, I messed some things up in trying to build a business and neglecting my family along the way. And that has made me passionate about helping other business owners and leaders who are accumulating and building abundance to really take a step back and focus on how do we not only build that abundance, but how do we take care of the people we love the most and make sure from a generational and from a legacy standpoint, we're blessing them and not putting them in a place that we're going to create unintended consequences, things we imagine would happen.
Oh, this is awesome. So I'm going to get my mind disrupted today, and I'm so
Absolutely
ready for that. So this is the first time I'm hearing about a mindset disruptor. So what does that mean? How are you going to change my mindset? What do you do?
Well, so what I'm going to do is cause you to when somebody says something to you, what I have found to be true is our brains go, our brains either go, yes, that's true, or no, that's not, because of the world that we live in and the things that have happened to us. We accept that something is true or it's not true because of the habits of our thinking. And what a mindset disruptor does is comes in and says, what if something completely different is possible? I want to disrupt you before you go yes or no. I want to disrupt the way that you think and say, wait a minute, I was going to say yes, but maybe the answer is no because I'm not looking at it the right way. And if you want me to, I'll tell you the story of how I really kind of grasped onto this. It was through my own failures and through my own mistakes, but someone disrupted my mindset. And that's what made me passionate about disrupting other people's mindsets. abundance.
So you have the floor, Eric. Please go ahead and share that story with us. I'm sure my listeners, they are curious to know.
Yeah. So this is about 3.5 years ago. And I'm in the financial services industry. I'm passionate about growing this business. I'm passionate about investing. I'm passionate about money, passionate about abundance. That's all fantastic. That's great. I reached a point. This happened in March 3 years ago. In February, I had been on the road 20 of 28 days.
Oh, wow.
I had been traveling, speaking, going out to meetings, seeing people, and the story I was telling myself, and your listeners may resonate with this, right? Is I'm doing it for my family. I'm out, I'm grinding. I'm doing this for my family. I love my family. I'm doing what's best for them. And right now I've got to go out and I've got to strive and I've got to, really grind. And this is all for the business. The business has got to grow. And this is the other lie I told myself is this is just a season. It's just happening for right now. I need to give you a little bit of a preview because I'd been traveling quite a bit. My son, Austin, looked at me the previous November and he said, "Hey, you keep telling me that next year you're going to travel less for business. Next year is never coming, is it?" Yeah. I was like, oh, so that happened and I'm holding on to that idea. And then February happens. I'm gone 20 of 28 days. So I'm repeating the habit. I'm on this hamster wheel, and I don't know about you, Bo, or about any of your other business owners. COVID changed a little bit, but when you're stuck in a trend of this is how I do business and this is the way I do things, your mindset is this is the way it's always done. Makes sense?
Right.
Okay. So in March of that year, I had an experience that I went to called Warrior Week, and it's for married businessmen who are married businessmen, own a business, have kids, have a wife, right? And I'm at that experience, and it's the very first day. And a gentleman who has become a great, great friend of mine, his name is Sam Falsafi. Sam looks at me and he says, "I just need you to tell me why you hate your family."
Oh, wow. Wow.
Oh, I was mad. I don't hate my family.
I
love my family. What are you talking about? I love my family. You're completely wrong. He goes, no. He goes, "I've never known a man who spent as much time away from home as you do that doesn't hate his family. So tell me why you hate your family."
Wow.
And as I'm, he's disrupting my mindset. I'm like,
absolutely.
no, wait a minute. What's happening? That's not true. He goes, "Let me just tell you something, or let me ask you some questions. Who owns your business?" Like, well, I own the business, right? Okay. Who sets your travel schedule?
You do.
I set the travel schedule. So you own the business and you set the travel schedule. So tell me again, if you're in control of all this, why you hate your family? Because whether you realize it or not, you are in control of all of this and you are creating your own chaos. And that moment broke me. And it was a really, really hard moment of reflection. And again, this mindset disruption of here's how I think the world is. Here's where I think that the world needs to go. And Sam pulled me aside and he said, "Look, here's what I want you to do." I goes, "I need you to trust me on this because it's going to feel wrong." Okay. Because I want you to go home, because the business was still struggling. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what we're going to do. Because I want you to go home and I want you to forget about the business. He said, "I want you to get up every morning and I want you to spend time praying. I want you to go to the gym and work out. I want you to spend time. I want you to make breakfast for your kids. I want you to spend time with your wife. You can go into the office at 10, but not before."
Wow.
And not before you've done all of those things I just mentioned. Because if you will trust me for 30 days, I want you to then come back and tell me what happened. And so come back to, you're like, what does mindset disruption mean? Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? The idea is, how insane is it that a business that I'm struggling with right now, that I'm not going to go in until 10 o'clock? I need to be at the business at 5:30, 6 a.m. grinding. And I'm going to stay home and I'm going to pray and I'm going to work out and I'm going to spend time with my wife. What are you talking about?
That's beyond logic, right?
That is beyond logic. It's a mindset disruption.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So I'm home. I did everything that he said. I got healthier. My connection with my wife was stronger. My connection with my kids was stronger. I pulled myself off the road. And well, here's what happened. My leadership team and everyone said, well, if you're not coming in till 10, this person needs to take this project. This person needs to take this project. This person needs to take this project. And my leadership team stepped up, and I got out of the way and discovered that I had a bunch of incredible leaders that I had been holding back the whole time, and they weren't being held back. They hadn't been given an opportunity to thrive. They hadn't been given an opportunity to step up, and they started stepping up and leading. I got to a place of being healthier and more clear. I was understanding and hearing from God better. I'm more connected to my wife and hearing from her better. I'm feeling more connected to my kids. So I'm bringing a better energy to the business and I'm healthier, right? I'm bringing all this new energy to the world every single day. And my business started to take off. And I was like, what just happened? That's a mindset disruption.
That's awesome, Eric.
And so that we would talk about that experience. I just will land one little thing that you can come back to whenever you're ready, or you ask me other questions. But that experience then led me to discover that there are other places we need to do mindset disruption, especially in the financial industry. We've set a lot of mindsets that are causing us to do things we don't even realize are happening. And so that was the beginning of that discovery.
So we are going to come to that definitely, because I'm interested in knowing how, I can have that mindset shift in my finances. So, but before that, what if we've been doing it all wrong? Does that sound familiar to you, Eric?
Yeah, it's a little book I wrote about 5 years ago.
Okay. I'm guessing that this is going to be about some mindset shifts at the same time. So what is your book? What if we've been doing it all wrong? What is it about?
Yeah, so it's a similar concept that what if we're asking the wrong questions about our money and our finance and the way that we're thinking about doing things, and it's actually costing us everything that we truly want. The book is written more from a financial standpoint. What I learned in my overall experience 3 years ago was more about bringing the family aspect. But what the book is about is, if you go look at you could say it a few ways. Like I would call it biblical truth. If you're some of it's from the Torah and things like that. So, I mean, depending on what religion you're coming from and everything like that, I'm a Christ follower. That's my particular belief and following. So I was using this from a framework. And what I started looking at was, there's a lot of things that the world says about how we should handle money, but the Bible has been speaking about how to handle money for a very, very long time. And so I went and looked, and the first few chapters of the book are like, well, how does the world tell us to think versus what's the way that the Bible might tell us to think? And would we shift our thinking if we use the Bible as our lens instead of using the world as our lens? And the answer was yes. Yeah, we would. We would change our thinking. And then it came down to, okay, well, then what questions might we ask if we were doing this from the way that the Bible looks at it? And it was questions like, okay, so this is the one that a lot of people struggle with, but how much is enough? Is there ever a finish line? Or is it that we always have to have more? But how much is enough?
Yeah.
Because if you never have a finish line, then you never know when to stop.
Absolutely.
And if you're talking about living a life of abundance, or you're talking about a life in scarcity, do you realize that even if you're a multimillionaire, but you never have enough, you still live in scarcity?
Wow. Can you just repeat that? How much is enough? Because I think people need to put that at the back of their mind, because otherwise, I like what you said. If you do not have a finish line, then you don't know if you are successful or if you've hit your goal. You just keep walking. You just keep chasing money. And that's not a good life to live. So I need you to please repeat that so that we can emphasize that.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. So even if, and I'm going to prove this to you with a statement after I say it, but I'm going to say it first. Even if you're a billionaire, if you cannot get to a point that you say that you have enough or set a finish line, you will always live in scarcity. If you want proof, they asked John D. Rockefeller, how much is enough? And his comment was just a little bit more.
More. Wow.
More.
Wow.
What, and I'm like, I get that he had stuff, but what, in one sense, when we think about what do we want? We want I want a life of abundance. I want to live in abundance. And if my mindset is already creating that's what we don't realize. We think, well, yeah, no, we always want more. But when I don't set a finish line, when I don't say, hey, here's enough, I'm already setting myself up for a lifetime of living in scarcity, and I don't even realize it.
Wow. Yeah. I couldn't believe, I know I've read about John Rockefeller before. I knew he was a billionaire, but to hear that's just a little more.
Yep.
That means there's no finish line. You just keep walking till you die. That's not a kind of life to live. I like the way you put it. So Eric, I know you are a man of faith. How has your faith influenced your investment decisions?
That's a great question. Well, so, there's a couple of things. One is faith. Faith is a word that, in one sense, when you have faith, you have to automatically extinguish the word fear or skepticism or doubt. And when you look at the world of investing, they have dedicated TV shows and channels and email newsletters and websites to all peddling fear. You know, everything is about, here's what could go wrong. Here's about what fear, or if things are going well, I guess I would say the opposite side of that coin is greed, which again, you can never have enough. And so all the media that we take into our head, all the information that we take in as we're processing, how should I invest or how should I do this, comes from a lens of fear or from a lens of greed. And what I've done in thinking about investing or money or anything is, what if we just put a lens of faith on it? And one of the things most people don't realize is Jesus himself spent more time talking about money, and he talked about investing, and he talked about all those things more than he talked about heaven and hell combined. And so then how does that reflect on me? Well, I use biblical wisdom to go in and look at what did Jesus say about investing? What did Jesus say about money? What did Jesus, to reflect how I then think about putting that in place. And it's beautiful from that standpoint. We could be sitting, on the day that we're recording this, the headline on every single website is it's the worst first 6 months of the year for the stock market since 1970.
Yeah, I just saw that. I saw that before we started this conversation.
Okay.
So it's scary.
If my mindset is fear, if my mindset is fear, then I'm having a terrible meal tonight. And the other thing too, Bola, that we don't realize is the fear, emotion, and everything else that's going on. Guess who else we take that out on? I take that out on my wife. I take that out on my kids. I take that out on my employees. I take that out on the people who love me unconditionally. When I come from, and this is even, what if we've been doing it all wrong? It's not just the finish line. The book goes on to talk about more things like this, but it's like when we put our faith in action, then guess what? My faith is in God and what he's doing. And if I'm following his principles, I can't control the weather. I can't control the stock market. I can't control the circumstances around me. What I can do is follow the principles, right? It's kind of like, I think of it like farming. There are principles to farming that a farmer can follow. Does it mean that year he's going to get a bountiful crop? It does not. Because there's weather and there's other circumstances he cannot control. There are years when I invest that I do everything the right way and it doesn't reap success. But those principles followed year after year after year after year reap abundant success. So what's your lens of time? Is your lens of time, well, 6 months or 1 year, or is your lens of time a long time? And the only way to get a longer lens of time, I've found, is from a faith standpoint, because what faith begins to do is faith even takes us out of our own lifetimes. So if there is no faith, if there is no God, then all I have is my lifetime to live and my impact and whatever. I'm winning to cross the finish line for me. But if life is eternal, that I'm living my life to make an impact and pass the baton to the next generation that is running beyond me, and then to make an impact for eternity. And those are two completely different sets of mindsets on how you live. And that, I mean, that impact will change the way you invest. It'll change the way that you think about money. It'll change everything.
Wow. You know, you have packed a whole lot of information in that maybe 2 to 3 minutes statement that you made. And I think everything you said, they are very important. You know, I saw the headline today myself, S&P, everything was falling down. And I was like, oh, what's going on? You know, they said this is the worst half year where we had maybe the market has crashed, all these things. And I was telling myself that, hey, Bola, stop looking at all these headlines. Just, you know, stay focused and just continue to do what you can do and leave those things that you cannot do. I know there are multiple variables that is currently affecting this market, but I think, and I hope, and I know that we are going to get through and everything will be all right. That's one thing. And that's faith. I know that tomorrow will be better. It may take another 6 months. I don't know, but I know the future will be glorious. So that's something that's growing. So I like your analysis right there.
Well, I'll give you one quick example. If I can, let me give you one quick example. Let's be really quick. You may not remember this. God, was it 4 years ago, 5 years ago? We had the worst January, like on record ever. It's the worst January ever. And they're printing all these headlines around it. What most people don't remember is that year finished up about 12%. Yeah. But the headline at the end of January was, it's the worst January on record. So that just kind of shows you how, just don't let a headline of fear. It's where faith gets to be so important. Fear temporarily take you off track of what you're really trying to accomplish. But from a mindset standpoint, what gets to be so easy, you go, oh my goodness, there's the worst January ever. That must mean the February and March and April and everything else is going to be worse too. So I got to do something. Versus no, faith says there are disciplines and things that I do on a regular basis.
So you are a certified financial advisor. You've been in this financial services industry for many, many years. So I know you know what you are doing. How can, you know, someone out there, they want to, you know, connect with you, learn from you? How does that process work? I know you have your company. Do they just go to your website, or what do you do? And how specifically do you help them?
Yeah, so it really depends on what people are looking for. And I've tried to kind of create different paths to help people to get there. The easiest way to connect with me, to begin a connection, is the website ericl360.com. ERICL360.com. The reason is because that's access to all my social media. You want to follow me on LinkedIn, you want to follow me on Facebook, you can connect with me there. I publish on YouTube, I publish various videos on tax strategies, investments, family relationships. I've got my own podcast where you can go watch some of the interviews that I've done. It's also got links to my books. You mentioned, What If We've Been Doing It All Wrong? In the last few months, I just released a children's book called I Crashed in Backwardsville, which is about a turtle who goes to a town where they do everything backwards. Oh, wow. And kids are loving this book. So if you're like, hey, I want to disrupt my kids' mindset, we wrote I Crashed in Backwardsville. My wife and I wrote together to help begin the conversation of how do you change the thinking in your kids. I will also tell you, we're launching a 10-week coaching program in August where you work personally with me and my coaching team, where for 10 weeks, we're going through different mindset strategies to help you completely reset your mindset. We didn't talk about this today, but one of the things I like to say is most people are building a really, really beautiful sandcastle that when the waves come in is probably going to fall apart, and they don't even realize it because it's such a pretty sandcastle. And if I can change your mindsets, I can show you how to build a kingdom.
Wow, awesome. So yeah,
we're gonna have
that 10-week program, I'm going to make sure I highlight it on my show notes so that people can join and participate in that. So that's good.
The best way to get to all of that is Eric L360, and then go in there and find the things that make the most sense for you for us to connect.
Okay. So erichell360.com. So that's where to connect with Eric. I saw some of your videos. I saw what you did on generational wealth. Can you maybe in 1 or 2 minutes talk about that? Because I think people in my community, I think we particularly need that, because I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was, educating my son, and I gave him an example about Sam Walton. He founded Walmart. This guy, because he founded Walmart, his kids, they are billionaires already, right? Because they inherited whatever he did. So, that's some generational wealth being transferred to the kids. So how can anyone do this? What is generational wealth?
Yeah, so to me, generational wealth is generational wealth. How does the family that you will never know remember to you? So the way that I like to ask questions if I'm doing an interview is, what do you want your great grandchildren to remember about you? And the reason this gets to be important, because if Sam Walton, all he leaves is money and he doesn't leave any values or purpose, then what they remember about their great-grandfathers, my great-grandfather was rich and founded Walmart. Or do they remember my great-grandfather was humble and started Walmart and still drove an old Ford pickup truck and was very frugal, and these are things that are important to our family. So for me, this is going to come back to a biblical principle. King Solomon was the wealthiest man who ever lived. And if you look at his story, he's also the wisest man who ever lived. I don't have time to get into why, but that is true. Right. And King Solomon, being the wisest and wealthiest man who ever lived, made a proverb about wealth that I'm going to paraphrase. And he basically said this: if all you leave is money, it may be fleeting. But if you leave wisdom and money, it has an opportunity to grow. But not only that, if all you can leave is wisdom, they will probably figure out how to make the money. So many people are thinking about generational prosperity and thinking about things, and one of two things happens. One is they're building prosperity and they forget to leave the wisdom. And it's like, so that's one of the things for me for generational wealth. I want to help you figure out how to leave the wealth and the wisdom. So that's what a lot of my videos are about that part. But let's say you're a person that's like, man, I want to build prosperity. I'm just not there yet. I'm still on my track. What can I leave to my kids? Well, leave wisdom. Talk to them about the Sam Waltons, talk to them about the things that matter. Those things are also in my videos about what you should be talking to people about, about your kids, about the conversations, because even when you don't have abundance, you can still have great conversations about what it means to be wealthy in faith and wealthy in family and wealthy in community and wealthy in health. The billionaire who's sick and on oxygen and in a wheelchair is not more wealthy than the person who's loving on their family at 65 years old, but only has, $100,000 in the bank account or something like that, right? I mean, I would say that the person who's healthy and enjoying their family and everything else only has $100,000 is more wealthy than the billionaire. So the wisdom and the mindset are more important than the bank account.
The wisdom and the mindset. That's very, very good, Eric. Thank you very much for sharing that. I was going to ask about family. On your website, you had a lot of messages about family, business, and purpose. I want to see if we can maybe in a minute or so talk about how to, identify that purpose for our family, so that we are not just chasing money. And how can we have that mindset shift about redefining success? If you can just put something together for us.
So the most important thing, there are a lot of cool different exercises out there. I don't know if in a minute I can get us to that point, but what I would tell you is the most important thing the family typically can do is sit down and have conversations. I break it down into 4 things: value, vision, voice, and venture. Let me just tell you those 4 things, because this is really how you pass that. Can our family sit down and determine what we stand for and what 4 or 5 words that like define who our family is? And let me be really careful about this. So as mom and dad, it's really easy to say, well, our value is XYZ. Our value is hard work. Well, what that means to you and what that means to your kids may be something different. And do you have enough room in your family to have the grace to say hard work is the value, but it can mean different things to different people? So values, voice, from a prosperity and building into our family, what is so important there is what I find is true is more times than not, we're thinking really, really good things about our kids. We're wanting and wishing really good things for them, but we don't actually speak them or say them. So creating moments where you actually speak over your children. Hey, here are the great things I see about you. Here are the wonderful things I know about you. Or actually writing letters and on a regular basis and putting that down on paper. Because every single one of us are walking around with a lot of self-doubt and don't know what to think of ourselves. And when somebody speaks greatness over us, how wealthy have we become from a mindset standpoint? Now, anything is possible because that voice was spoken over us. Values was a vision, values, voice.
Yeah.
We live in a world that doesn't know how to have a discussion and disagree with each other without yelling. We've forgotten how to listen.
Yes.
So can we create a place in our family where we sit down around the table and we say, you know what, I may disagree with you on that. Tell me why you think that way. Let me hear from you and listen with ears to understand why they believe that, and then get that same respect back out of them. We don't have time to get into it, but I've had some experience with my own kids where we disagree on things, but there's enough voice going on around the table that we can respectfully disagree and still love each other. And then the last piece is venture. And what venture is about is, can you create something as a family that it's greater than the individual family unit? And so for us and our family, that's been about generosity and volunteering together. That's been about going on mission trips. It's also been lately about partnering and engaging with a local nonprofit that's trying to solve poverty in our community. I live close to the New Orleans area. And as a business owner, I believe that one of the solutions to poverty is business. And so partnering with this organization to help people who live in areas of poverty, not only start businesses, but fund businesses. But we're doing that as a family. But so what is it for you? How do you codify your values? How do you cast vision? How do you give everyone a voice? And then together as venture. And that truly is the generational prosperity side of what you want to have happen.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Eric. This has been great. I've learned a lot, from speaking with you in the past 30 minutes, and we have come to the end of the conversation, of the interview. This is awesome, honestly, Eric. There's so much that you broke down for us. Success is not only about money. Yes, people should be entrepreneurs, do something, but also about value. You spoke about value, vision, voice, and venture. These things are very, very important. Thank you very much for sharing with us today. Guys, if you want to connect with Eric, just go to ericl360.com. You are going to be able to follow him on all his social media handles by going to this website. And we have come to the end of the show. Thank you, Eric, for your time.
Bola, thank you so much. It's been a blessing. All
right.